Good evening, Nada Gilmore with ABC News Sunday. Week 2 of the election campaigns began with a combined offering of $90 million worth of promises for children. The government's funding new devices for diabetics, and Labor wants all primary school students to get swimming lessons. But it was a demand by the Attorney-General for Bill Shorten to dump a Labor candidate that went awry when the Prime Minister refused to back him. Here's National Affairs correspondent Greg Jennett.
Charity begins at home. So Tony Abbott's turned on some razzle-dazzle for the legacy movement.
My legacy, this is Malcolm Turnbull's legacy, this is our legacy, and that's why it's so important that we re-elect a coalition government on July the 2nd.
In his local surf club, he made do on a backbencher's budget. What he last did with the full funding of the Federal Liberal Party, which transfers to this leader.
I'm looking forward to campaigning with him in Warringah. That'd be delightful. I might paddle my kayak across the harbour to join him.
For now, Malcolm Turnbull's gone inland.
You'll be able to know exactly when his sugars were too high, too low.
His health minister's found more than $50 million so parents of children with type 1 diabetes can monitor blood sugar levels constantly.
This technology for their families is life-changing.
Kids' lives are also getting Labor's attention, with $40 million for all primary school students to be given swimming lessons.
We want to make sure there's a national approach.
It's a good idea. That's good.
Yeah, I just think it's a good idea.
Good policy.
Yeah.
The campaign saunters into its second week with hangovers from the first.
Certainly there's indecision around your asylum policy, which everybody gets distressed about.
Mr Shorten can't control his party on the critical issue of border protection.
The attorney's not only prosecuting an old argument on Labor's asylum dissidents, he's demanding action by Mr Shorten on another front.
To enforce the disendorsement of a candidate.
Labor's candidate for Dunkley, Peter Murphy, happened to express reservations about national security laws in a submission to a parliamentary inquiry 7 years ago.
We're not going to fall from George Brandis or any other coalition minister's sort of distraction tactics.
Neither's Malcolm Turnbull.
This is a matter for Mr Shorten. The Attorney-General has called on him to disendorse the candidate.
3 times the Prime Minister refused to back the call for the candidate's dumping.
I'm not going to comment on the candidate, the Labor candidate.
And for good reason. Mr Turnbull has himself sounded caution against tough terror laws.
Really well-informed people can have very different views about what the right measures are on national security.
Demands for the dumping of a candidate are a dime a dozen, but despite mangling this one, it won't be the last time the coalition goes there. It's still trawling the records of all Labor candidates who may have had misgivings about asylum seeker policy. Greg Jennett, ABC News, Canberra.